What's up, everybody? Hope you're having amazing days so far. I'm the host Phil, and today's video, we're going to check out today the M-VAVE chocolate MIDI controller. Let's roll the intro clip, and then let's get into some MIDI programming. To be very honest with you, if you would have told me a year ago that I would be sitting over here and talking about MIDI programming and actually doing something which I would deem somewhat an educational and hopefully entertaining video, I would laugh at you straight ahead, because I had no idea how to program MIDI whatsoever, what it's all about when it comes to programming guitar equipment and, being able to control everything via these MIDI controllers over here. I did use MIDI occasionally in order to program the drums and the virtual instruments. I did use MIDI when it comes to, compositional purposes. I think most guitar players are familiar with Guitar Pro or Tux Guitar, those programs. Yeah, so that's where I use MIDI, but never to really, program my stuff, my gear over here. But that recently changed when I had the NAM player, which is fully MIDI capable, and I needed a solution where I needed a toggle switch, which was capable of toggling between two presets with one single foot switch. That's where I found out about the disaster area MIDI-Baby, which really works well. Awesome tool. I might have a demo video at some point in time, but this is not for today's video. In today's video, I want to showcase the M-VAVE chocolate MIDI controller. This is a very, very affordable, very simplified wireless MIDI controller. Everybody in the Amplitude group is now raving over this thing, especially in combination with the ToneX one. I was very curious to find out about it. I'm not yet in the market for having a ToneX one, but I got the normal ToneX pedal, and together with the latest effects firmware update, I thought this might be a really cool thing in order to, navigate my stomp boxes, so to speak, do some preset work over here. Yeah, and I just thought that I'm going to take you along the ride over here, show you what this is all about, and, have a little bit fun with that. Now, a few words on the M-VAVE chocolate itself. I purchased this at AliExpress. I think this is around about 20 euros, maybe 25, sometimes 30, sometimes even 15. It really depends on, the daily price. If you buy this at Amazon, you're going to be a little bit more expensive, like $10 to $15 or euros, since I live in Germany. But however, you get next day shipping if you're using Prime. So there's that. I mean, it's super easy, super simple, but it has some really cool features. First off, it's battery powered. As you can see, there's no power supply currently connected. This can be a good and a bad thing at the same time. I like battery powered because it's, you can take it everywhere. It's portable. However, the battery does have a limited lifetime. So you have to be aware of that maybe after a few years, the battery might break, and then either you have to repair it by yourself or you have to deposit the device itself. Another thing which is, really cool about this is Bluetooth. This has Bluetooth functionality, so you can connect this to the application on your smartphone, but you also could use the USB-C connector, which is another cool thing, in order to hook it up to your PC and then use software simply via the USB functionality in order to program this pedal. This pedal offers over here a TRS jack, which I think works with the Type A MIDI standard, so just be aware that you need that specific pin out. I bought some cables which had like a very different MIDI pin out, so I was totally screwed and I had to go ahead and solder up my own cables in order for this to work. But yeah, this is working really well, really small, affordable thing. I mean, the foot switches are somewhat loud, you have to live with that, but if you're not playing acoustic instruments and, you're gigging full scale with a metal band or a rock band, then this might be the exact companion for your particular modeler. Now, in this video, I seek to cover as much ground as possible, kind of giving you a guide from the ground up in order to get this thing running together with a ToneX pedal. So what we're first going to check out is how to install the software on your smartphone and on your PC, because that already has a few caveats which you have to be aware of. Next thing which we're going to do is we're going to talk about MIDI programming in general from a very basic perspective, and afterwards we're going to program some cool different presets on these foot switches over here. All right, let's check out the installation process both on an Android smartphone and your Windows PC. I already got the M-VAVE turned on. The light is blinking, indicating that it's ready to connect via Bluetooth if found by the smartphone device. However, we are not there yet. That's what we're doing this for. Now, if you go to the official website, Cubevave.com, strangely enough, you will see that this is the official website of M-VAVE. I don't know if they operate different under different brand names in different regions. I've seen some Chinese brands do that. However, I don't know how this is the case over here. When you go to the product page of the chocolate MIDI controller, then you unfortunately will not find any download links or anything. So that site is useless for us, basically. What you want to do is go to the main website, cubewave.com, and on the upper right side, rather, it's unfortunately now a little bit blocked by my face, you can see the download link. The download link will bring you to this page over here, which is cubewave.com/app download. And over here you can find different registers, the white paper for their neural amplifier modeling technology. Then you got PC software. This is something which we're going to look in the next chapter of this video. And then we got the mobile app over here. The application which I am checking out now is Cubesuite. It seems to be that there's another software, which is Syncooda, which I unfortunately did not really get to run and did not understand. I got to get into that at a later point in time. For now, I want to focus on Cubesuite because that worked out really well and was very intuitive and, brought me quickly the results which I were expecting. So what you want to do is, because this is not like in the Google Play Store, you have to download the installer for the application manually and then install it on your smartphone. So over here, when I go to Android download, if I click something, nothing is happening. That is a really strange thing. I was totally bamboozled when I first saw that. There's no download popping up. The download history doesn't show anything. And, me being a little bit of a tech nerdy guy, I found out the reason why. So the reason is that Chrome, for whatever reason, is trying to keep you safe and saying, hey, this might be potentially a harmful software, and therefore it's not even initiating the download process. But what you can do in order to do that, because I didn't find any issues, however, want to say everything you do is at your own, risk. So just be aware of that. I cannot be made liable for the things which you do on your devices. However, what I did in order to circumvent that is right-click on the Android download button, copy the link address, open a new tab, enter the URL, and then it's showing over here in the download manager. Let me go over here. Hang on. Let me pull that over here. Download history. And it's now saying insecure download blocked. And in that case, I want to keep it. So then it's downloading this to my particular, download folder. And now I can close this browser and move on to check my download folder. In my download folder, I can now see that the Cubesuite APK is already downloaded. I have to now transfer that manually to my smartphone, and then I can show you how to install that. I already have a screen share of my smartphone over here, and I already pre-downloaded that in my download folder. So I already got the Cubesuite APK over here on my smartphone. So I can simply go ahead, double click on this, and it's now asking me, do you really want to install this app? Yes, I do want to install this app. So after a few seconds, the app has been installed. So I'm now finished, and now I can go ahead and open this. Öffnen is the German word for open. So I'm going to do exactly that. And now it's opening the Cubesuite. The unfortunate thing with these MIDI devices is that they always want to ask for your location. I personally don't have any issue with that. Any app which I have is already allowing or already knows where I'm at, so I don't really care. So I just say while the app is being used, I'm allowing that, otherwise not. So I'm allowing that, and it's asking if it's allowed to access the media on your smartphone. Yeah, so you gotta take that. If you don't want that on your smartphone to happen, then don't use the application on your smartphone, just use the Windows application. Or use basically another MIDI controller, because it is what it is. Now, because Bluetooth is turned on my smartphone, it already indicates the Bluetooth controller which I got over here. So this is the foot control. I'm going to click on that one, and now you got different options over here. You got forced connection, which is basically, I don't care if there's an upgrade or something, or if this is like an older deprecated version or something of the software, I want to connect. So that's what I'm going to do over here, forced connection, and now it is connecting towards the device and the smartphone to each other. Right over here, I am now in the editing screen, so I have now successfully connected. Now there are certain things which you can click on. You can either click on this over here, so you can set it up to TRS MIDI. Here you can see the actual pin out, which you need from TRS to MIDI, or you can set this in tandem with an expression pedal, so you can kind of abuse this as an expression pedal. In my case, I want to use this over here as a TRS to MIDI connection, so that's exactly what I want to use the TRS jack for. And yeah, let's use that, go back, and then we can do certain things over here. We can set up program changes, and you got some explanations what is happening over here. So program change A, for example, means that you have A to D keys are used to send so-called program change modes. I hope you can see that over here. So now this is 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. If I go up on two buttons simultaneously, I'm moving up the bank. So now I got again 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D, and so on and so forth. That's program change A, how it's displayed. Program change B works a little bit different. There you only have like full scale numbers. So you got 0, you got 1, you got 2, you got 3. Then you move up a bank. Then you got 4, you got 5, you got 6, 7, and so on and so forth. So you got different options on how you can set this up over here. In my particular case, I'm always using the advanced custom mode, and it depends on the device, on how I'm programming this. This is now set up for the NAM player. I'm just using regular so-called program changes, program change 1, program change 2, 3, and 4. And that's all I'm doing. For the ToneX, I have to take a totally different approach, which is the core thing which I want to explain in this tutorial over here. Getting the software installed on your Windows PC is way more straightforward. You simply go to cubevave.com app download, the webpage which we have been on before. You go to the PC software register, go over to here to Cubesuite for Windows OS. It's now downloading this onto the download folder. I already got this open. You extract the zip file, and then you go into the folder and you open the Cubesuite X over here. This is now already connected, the M-VAVE chocolate, via USB to my PC, so that's already done. I then execute this program. Windows is overprotective and wants me to confirm that I'm gonna run this anyway. And then you can see that the program is now running over here and allowing me to select the foot control in order to connect. Once I do that, this menu pops up, which looks very similar in design and features to the Android application which we got. We have everything which we want to set over here, and we can now go ahead and do our custom programming. All right, so now I got everything set up over here. I'm now fully prepared. I got the ToneX pedal over here, which you can see. The M-VAVE MIDI controller is also visible, as well as Cubesuite down below, and the Amplitude ToneX pedal user manual. That one is for a later portion of this video, so I'm gonna minimize this right now, and hopefully you can see now enough. With a little bit of explanation, I mean, you can see in the end what I'm actually doing over here, so hopefully that will be good enough in order to see what's going on. Now, as you know, on the ToneX, you got these 3 foot switches, which you can set up different presets to. Over here, I got my core tone, which is basically a boosted JVM. Then over here, I got the same tone with a chorus, or sorry, with a flanger engaged. I'm gonna say chorus 1,000 times in this video, perhaps. And over here, I got the same core tone, but with more of a lead sound in mind. So there's a delay added, a reverb added, mids are different, the treble and the bass is different, but the amp models are all the same. What I've now heard is that if you set up the MIDI switcher in the right fashion, then you can, if you leave the amp model the same, get a nearly gapless switching. And that's exactly what Simon wanted to do, because unfortunately the ToneX pedal over here inherits a horrible switching gap. Let's check that out, or let's first check out the core tones which I get. So that's a really nice tone. One thing to note over here, these are now amp DI captures. In Reaper, I'm using impulse response behind that, because that's also how we use this in the band context. We have a small IR loader pedal, the more radar pedal behind the ToneX, and that then goes to front of house. So that's a fairly similar setup to what we are running live over here. Let me get that strap here set up right. Yeah, so that's my core tone. Now this over here is the the flanger loaded tone. And this over here is my lead tone. And then back to my normal rhythm tone. Now, let's check out the preset switching gap, which is very audible. I'm not sure if you can hear that on your side, but on my side, it's absolutely obvious. There's a horrible preset switching gap on this pedal over here. I measured it. It's somewhere around 25 milliseconds, which in my opinion is absolutely unacceptable for a product of this range. I think there should be a way lower gap when switching presets. The neural amp modeler or the NAM player by Diamhead has a 0 millisecond, so there's literally no gap when switching presets over here. I already tested this around with the MIDI setup, which we're about to achieve at a later point. We can get that to somewhat around 3 to 4 milliseconds, which is a substantial better number than 25. But, it is what it is. We have to live with that. So when we use the M-VAVE Chocolate straight out of the box, then you are selecting the mode, which is program change A. So these keys over here, they just change so-called program changes from 1 to 4, and the next bank is 5 to 8, and so on and so forth. And program changes are nothing else than exactly what we're doing with these foot switches. So using this over here against this over here in the program change mode is absolutely useless in that case, except for that we get an additional button. That's at max what I would say. That's the benefit which you're getting out of this. But apart from that, same thing over. So let's check that out. We're currently on 1B, which is my core tone over here. So again, we're getting that preset gap, or that preset switching gap. Sorry, I'm going to mess up that word 1,000 times in this video. So we're still getting that gap over here when we're switching between the presets. And it comes even worse because these buttons on this particular program change mode, they do not react on the press signal, but only on the release signal. So in theory, you might even have way larger latencies depending on how you use foot switches. Like if you press on them and then kind of leave your foot on there and then release them, then you're only going to initiate the change as soon as you release them. I'm going to demonstrate this very quickly. So that's really a bummer, the only thing, as I said, which is cool, is that you get an additional foot switch over here, which I now assigned to a clean tone. I'm just going to play a little bit around with that clean tone. extra points if you know what song that is from. Yeah, and that's basically the core benefit in this program change mode A, which is over here. You got a ton of different stuff going on in regards of program changes. I'm going to go back to my rhythm tone, and then we're going to go into the mode which I actually use, which is the advanced custom mode. Over here in the advanced custom mode, you can set up a lot of different stuff, which is really cool. You can set up for every foot switch a singular individual mode which you want to run that into. So single step, you can set up a long step, step short, or step long. So a lot of different things. What I'm interested in is the mode called press down and release, 2 sets of information. That means that on pressing down the button, I can set up 1 set of MIDI information, and on releasing, I can set up a different set of information. I'm abusing this mode basically in order to simply do my changes on the press signal. So that way I'm getting like a more immediate thing going on. And this would then be as following. I'm still going to remain with the setup which we got over here, because when it comes to MIDI programming, we got to differentiate between 2 modes. And what I mean by that is when we initiate commands, I already talked about program changes. There's also something which is called control changes. Program changes are basically, like full-scale preset changes on most devices which I worked on. So that means on the ToneX, for example, that means, okay, my first button is set to preset 1, my second is preset 2, preset 3 is my third button, and so on and so forth. So I'm basically just scrolling through the presets. But if I want to change individual parameters within a preset, that is done via a control change, because the control change only indicates a specific parameter which you want to change, and then the value of the parameter. That's what we're going to use in the aftermath to get our gapless switching system. For now, I first want to make sure that we kind of step our toes into the cold water by just programming program changes, because that's super simple. So what I'm now wanting to do is I want to have foot switch A trigger a program change to preset 1, foot switch 2 to preset 2, and so on and so forth. So let's do that. On foot switch A, I want to have the press down release 2 sets of information, and on the A bank, meaning on the press, I want to have now another command. So I press on add. You can see the command by double clicking this. I'm opening a context menu where I can now say on MIDI channel 1, which is by default set on the ToneX. I do not have to set on or off MIDI on this device. I want to have a program change which is triggering the data point or the data value 0. The reason for that is 0 is always my first value within this setup. So I got values between 0 and 127, which I can enter over here. And 0 is my first preset, 1 is my second preset, 2 is my third preset. So there's kind of a shift of 1 in between. So in this case, 0 is the correct answer. I want that. And now I have to do that for the second foot switch. So again, I'm going over here to foot switch number B. Mode, press down, release 2 sets of information, going to the A bank. And now I want to set up a program change again on MIDI channel 1, but this time with the value 1. And so on and so forth. So I'm going over here, foot switch C, press down, release 2 sets of information, add a command, go in there, and since this is my third foot switch, I'm setting up the value 2. And then for foot switch D, I'm doing the same thing, but this time with the data set 3. Once I set this up, you do not have to save this. This is automatically saved directly. So once this is set up, you can now go ahead and you can see that the ToneX pedal is changing it through the presets. So number 1 is my chorus sound over here. Number 2 is my core rhythm sound. Number 3 is my lead sound. And number 4 is my clean tone over here. So this is cool. This is exactly what we set up with program change A. However, this is now reacting on the press. So that means that we have a more immediate thing when pressing the foot switch. However, we still got the gap going on, as I said before. Maybe it's not as big as the 25 milliseconds. Let me measure that short and then show you. All right, I did the measurement. There's no difference between MIDI and using the preset buttons. It's not 25 milliseconds, but instead 15 milliseconds. However, this is still very audible, as you heard for yourself over here. So this region over here is basically the gap, and as you can see in Reaper, it tells me that this is 15 milliseconds. So, case cleared. However, there's no difference between MIDI and using the preset buttons, so this is not yet the solution which we are searching for. Now, what we want to do is we want to check control changes, because basically we are moving from some sort of chord tone and doing things to that particular chord tone, like as if we are putting on stomp boxes on or off. You know, like in my case with the flanger over here, with the first preset, we are just turning on the flanger on or off. With the lead preset, we are turning basically an EQ pedal more or less on or off, and also delay and reverb. So what we're going to do is we're going to first remove all of the commands from the foot switches over here. And then we're going to take a look at the manual. That's where the manual comes into play. Every MIDI-capable device has some sort of a MIDI mapping. So when you go to the MIDI specifications, that's what you want to look at. Here you can see every single control change and what value range you have. Now, it's also stated in the manual that the parameter range, if it's not linear, then you just simply have to divide it. So let's just take a range from 0 to 100, for example. If you want to find out basically what the value 60% means, then you have to take 128 and multiply that by 0.6, and then you know the respective MIDI value which you have to enter in order to get the actual value 60. So there's that. Okay, but in this case, we're just gonna basically move with toggling, so on, off for stomp boxes. So that's what we wanna have. Okay, so what we wanna do on the first foot switch is we want to turn on the flanger, or the modulation block. That's all we wanna do. We wanna be at our chord tone over here. So we want to be at this chord tone, and from this chord tone, we just want to engage the modulation block. So what we're going to do is we're going to check over here the specifications on this manual where we can find what the modulation block is to be turned on. And that turns out to be the control change value 32. And if you set the value to 0, you're turning off the modulation. And if you're turning it on, you want to set it to 127. So let's do exactly that. So for foot switch A, I want to react on the press down. And on the A bank, I want to now have on MIDI channel 1 a control change. So you go down to the drop down menu and choose CC. And then you want to set the data number 32 to the value 127. And that relates to, please, on MIDI channel 1, do a control change which takes the modulation power and turns it on. I hope that makes it clear so far. So there we go. Now, when we are on our chord tone over here, and we just press this foot switch, this will turn on the chorus. Now the thing is, we cannot set a toggle for this feature on this foot switch. So we have to basically set this that when we press on the second button, that we're turning off the chorus in order to get back to our chord tone. So let's do that. Foot switch B, we're gonna add this control, and we're gonna again say, on MIDI channel 1, I wanna use the control change of 32, and now I wanna set it to the value 0. So now you can use these two foot switches over here on the M-VAVE Chocolate in order to toggle the chorus on or off. All right, so now that works really well. This is now basically gapless. I don't hear really a gap when switching between. So this already is kind of the core functionality. Now let's move on from there on and work on building our presets over here. Okay, we now have the flanger thing set up. That's nice. We got our core tone. We can go back to our core tone. On the third switch, however, I want to do a little bit more. I want to first turn on the delay and turn on the reverb. But in order to demonstrate my purpose, I'm just going to leave it at the delay for now. So let's say on preset C, I want to turn on the delay. Let's go ahead over here and see the delay power is set to the control change 2. So that means that on foot switch C, on the press down, on the A bank, I'm now adding a new command and I'm saying, please do the control change of data set 2 and turn that delay on for me. Okay, going from our core tone, we can now go over to the delay. So we now got our core tone. And now going over here, we got the delay tone. Again, we now have to set up that when we are going back to B, that we turn off the delay. So we're going to go back to foot switch B, and then we're going to add another control change, which says, okay, control change, data point number 2, which is turning on or off the delay power, and this is supposed to be on the data set 0. All right, so now when we go back to the core tone respectively, we can always go back to our tone which we originally had. Let's try that out. So this already works. However, now this bears a problem. What happens if for whatever reason we are not going back to our core tone, but we want to go from chorus to the delay and then to our core tone? See what happens. So we're now on our core tone. We're going to the chorus tone. We're going to the delay tone. And now you can already hear the problem. The chorus did not turn off when I was going to the third tone. So now I have chorus and delay engaged. But however, I only want the delay to be engaged. So you have to kind of think of these MIDI commands in kind of a crisscross formation. So now what you have to do is on the chorus tone, you have to deactivate the delay also. And on the lead tone, you have to deactivate the chorus also. So whatever is at your core, so basically what you can say is, whenever you set one single thing on one of the presets, you have to make sure that its correction is apparent on all other presets. So let's move from there on. So I'm going to first go into the foot switch A setup, and here I'm going to turn off the delay by using the control change 2 to 0. And on the delay preset, I'm doing the same, but vice versa. So here I'm turning off the chorus via 32. And you already have the proof. I'm always saying chorus, even though this is a flanger. Sorry, guys. You know what I mean. Modulation. I'm just going to keep on saying chorus. Okay. So now over here, you can see that on every foot switch, I got 2 commands. And this is exactly what we want to have. So now we can really go over, from A to C, back to A, back to B, and always be on what we want to have. Let's try this out. We're going to start with the rhythm tone, the normal rhythm tone. Works well. Now to the delay. No chorus there. Back to the chorus. No delay there, which is right. Back to the core tone. All right, this now works pretty well. I could now go ahead and program this like in all detail. And let me just show you the MIDI note preset bank, which I created for Simon, who's going to use this pedal. in the aftermath. So over here you can see like on his core or on the rhythm tone, we want to have like only the flanger on or off. So that's the main thing. But we want to have on the lead tone all different types of things. So we want to have changes on the noise gate, changes in the EQ, in the presence, in the depth, and then of course delay and reverb are supposed to be turned on. This over here, these settings bring the overhead with it that I have to set on all the other different stuff and all the other presets. Yeah, so that makes it a little bit more complicated. Let's go ahead with one more example, and that being the lead tone is supposed to be louder than anything else. So I want the lead tone to be a little bit louder than the chorus and the core sound. So what I'm going to do is on foot switch C, I'm going to set the volume, the model volume, to the max value, which is 127. Let's check out what that is. Okay, here, model, that is the control change value 103, and I want to have that at 127. So let's go ahead and do that. Add another command, set this to the CC, and then data type is 103 for my model volume, and the value is 127. And in order to remedy that, I have to go into foot switch B and set this up to what I had previously, and I already calculated that and know that that is the value 102, which relates to 8.0 in the model volume. So there we have that, and we have to add that on foot switch A as well. So I hope that this is kind of clear. If you have questions, leave them down below in the comment section and we can discuss everything, because this is a little bit confusing, but I hope that the concept behind this now makes sense. So on foot switch A, what I'm now doing currently is I'm turning the chorus on, I'm turning the delay off, I'm setting the value back to 8.0. On the foot switch, I'm turning both chorus and delay off. I'm setting the volume to 8.0, sorry. And on foot switch C, I'm setting the delay on, but the chorus off, and setting the volume to 10.0. Let's see what that, let's listen to what that sounds like. We're going to start again on our core rhythm tone. I hope you can hear that the delay sound, the lead sound, is a little bit louder than all of the other tones which I'm getting over here. So that's basically how I then build up from the ground. I would now go ahead and change the mids, so I have to make sure that the changes I do on the mids for one preset are remedied on the other presets, and so on and so forth. Now, what happens with the fourth button, that's up to me. I personally will go ahead and set this to be toggling the tuner on and off. So in that case, I'm going ahead to foot switch D. I'm adding another command. The control change value is 9. So I'm going to go to CC, and I want to change number 9 of the parameters. And I just want to trigger that. So I'm just setting that to 127. Doesn't matter. It's just as long as something comes on this control change, then it engages or disengages the tuner. So with that set up, now I can press on this button over here, tuner on, tuner off, tuner on, tuner off. And there you have it. That's basically the core functionality of MIDI programming on the M-VAVE Chocolate. I think from here onward, now it's all up to your individual taste, what you want to do. The unfortunate truth is that as soon as you change the amp models, you are still having the preset gap, because you cannot change the amp model within a control change. That is something which only can happen within a program change, and that will always inherit that gap between that. So what I'm going to use in future is I'm going to use the M-VAVE Chocolate more as a stomp box toggler. So I'm putting that on off setup over here, and I'm using these over here on the ToneX to change my actual amp tones. Like here's a clean amp, here's a crunch amp, here's a lead amp, something in that regard. So I hope that this over here makes it clear how to program this. And with that, let's wrap up the video and get to the closing thoughts. to one of my closing thoughts on the M-VAVE Chocolate. I think for MIDI beginners, this is a pretty cool unit over here. Very affordable, has the core functionalities which you want to ask for. I mean, the setup with the pin that you have to use a TRS to MIDI connector is a little bit, you know, I wouldn't say sketchy because it's a normal standard, but it definitely makes things a little bit more complicated because there are two different types of MIDI. There's like MIDI type A and MIDI type B, and you can easily buy the wrong cables like I did, and it's a little bit of a frustrating endeavor, but once you get everything set up, it works really well. I think that the installation process on Android is way too tedious, you know, like you're downloading that APK file. However, to be honest, I simply went with Cubesuite and not with the Synco Ota app, which was also on the app download page and is also available on the Google Play Store. Maybe that's a little bit better. I did not look into that yet. Yeah, but from its core functionalities, from its core features, it offers a lot what other competitors, which cost way more, also offer. So the Hotone Ampero control is the one which comes into mind. That costs 120 euros. This over here costs like 20, maybe sometimes 15 euros, maybe 25 euros. So I think this has a way better cost proposition because I could easily buy like 6 or 5 of these and just keep them, you know, somewhere, and when one breaks, I'll just throw this away, take the next one, and I could do that in a cycle of 5 times before I have to even consider buying another one of these before I get back my money from the Hotone Ampero control. Yeah, really cool, awesome product. I am a fan. I'm gonna use this pretty extensively in my next rehearsals over here in different configurations. I'm also going to make a video on programming the NAM player with this because that should give some interesting content. And yeah, what do you think about the M-VAVE controller over here? Have you tried one? Are you in general into MIDI at all? Let me know down below in the comments below. I hope you learned something out of this. I hope that this tutorial helped you getting you started in MIDI. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I'm happy to help out, you know, from time to time. And yeah, hope you liked what you saw. Please subscribe, please like, do all those things for the algorithm. See you in the next video, hopefully. And until then, keep it metal.